According to the doc, the video should be located here. Just take a few turns, and we should be done quick.
Got it. We'll have our bounty in no time. Heh, that was easier than I thought. My client is going to be happy. Not just with this, but with the other one I gathered along the way. Huh?
Material, you say? I don't suppose you'll mind if I took it off your hands, permanently to clarify.
I spent all day looking for this, and I'm not leaving this place with nothing but sweat and a salty lobster.
Yeah, but I need this material to pay for rent. I think that takes priority.
You know, if you want, I can split the cost for what we'll get from these two videos if we...
Let me guess. Co-op?
I was gonna say get these videos to my client, but I guess co-oping could be fun too.
I could easily just knock the both of you out now and make away with the material. You know that, right?
Implying I have no way to defend myself. I'd personally rather not fight people and waste time, so I figured this would be the most peaceful and mutually beneficial option.
Yeah, because from what I've seen of your records, you only fight Amogas apparently. What's this material even on anyway? All I heard was lobster.
First of all, fuck you, I haven't even seen that piece of shit in a while. Secondly, the video I'm already carrying is the video relating to High Guardian Spice apparently, and the video I was about to grab before you got in my way is a countdown about 2021 video game shit.
A countdown by who exactly?
According to the client, Josh Scorcher.
Wait, no. Wait a minute. I see you dipping your toes into politics. You must be desperate for material.
My job was simply to get these videos to my client. I didn't initially plan to cover these, but now that you're here, I guess I have no other choice. Better than needless violence over a fucking video.
I mean, you still have a choice of just giving it to me, but okay, whatever. I'm fully invested. Now let's dive straight into this chaos, shall we?
I see you're one for catchphrases, aren't you?
Oh, like you'll learn to talk, Mr. Let's Burn Through This.
So for short context, a YouTuber by the name of LobsterHero has made an, as of now, 20-part High Guardian Spice analysis series. Then Virtus Joe made a video talking about High Guardian Spice criticism, where he used LobsterHero as a small example, and now that crustacean has made a response to that video. Frigg already said let's burn through this, so let's just start.
Well, duh.
Let's make this simple. I don't care about the quartering. I don't care about Hero Hey. Criticize them all you like. But I don't appreciate getting associated with that clickbaity, zero-effort trash.
Okay, so we're gonna be getting this a lot, and I do mean a lot, but this part is generally worthless as a whole, and single-handedly demonstrates the aspect that makes this video as needless as it is. Buckle in, folks, suffering is coming your way.
Joke's on you, I'm used to it by now.
Oh yes, I am very familiar with your history with Amogas.
So what exactly do you have to say about me?
Trick question, nothing.
It goes on and on and on and on. Us on the other hand, well, you dumb son of a...
Niggas need to be nicer to industry people. Them being in the industry and making something you don't like is no excuse for you to be rude to them or absolutely shit on what they've worked on in an absolutely non-constructive manner. There's nothing wrong with criticizing a piece of media at all. Art is subjective and there can be objective problems with it and fundamental rules being broken. But that is not the same as trying to get under a creator's skin on social media and actively trying to get yourself blocked. Like I'll be like, oh, let me piss the creator off who is definitely already on edge from months of harassment and being lambasted for just making something. And then you motherfuckers will be mean as hell and just flat out say, hey, what you made is garbage and you're a spineless, soulless person for making this and you should feel bad for making it, you dumb idiot. And then when you catch the block, you'll be like, oh haha, what a weak individual who can't take criticism. You should stay off the internet. If you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. Bitch, can't take the heat? You're the one stoking the fire. You literally just said, hey, this is garbage. Why wouldn't they block you? Like, are you dense?
Would you care to present any of my tweets? You know, the ones where I apparently harass the creators? What's that? Those do not exist? In fact, I have never been in any kind of contact with the creators of High Guardian Spice. Well, why the hell am I being lumped in with this conversation then? Dishonesty? No! I am shocked and appalled.
Wait a second, does it even need to? Like legit, if you paid attention to the last few seconds of the clip you played, the most he does in regards to you is say that you called the creators spineless and soulless. which you did. For Veritas, that's seriously all that needs to be said. He never stated that you had been in contact with the creators of the show, so I'm not even sure where that came from. All he did was show the thumbnail of your video on screen twice to show how harsh the overall reception was. Like, damn, this is such a complete and utter reach for something to complain about.
Also, do you think he's only talking about you? He's talking about a much larger attitude that your video, or videos, contribute to, at least in his eyes. The tweets from the other people are there to show how this attitude is on Twitter. And for those curious, yes, the sense of thinking everything said here is about him is present for almost the entire video.
How could an intellectual titan such as yourself, with so many healthy and not at all insane takes...
What?
Yo, Bo, do you want to split up for this one? This seems like a doozy.
Yeah, probably the best way to unwrap the shit that was said in the last 8 seconds.
Okay, you go first then. Better you suffer first than I anyways. No offense.
Okay, but yes, the insane take of saying people of color headcanon their favorite characters as their race isn't the same as whitewashing, especially when whitewashing is made in retaliation. Like, how is that insane in any way? And the video explains it pretty well. Particularly, I want to play this clip so you can understand what is probably the most important point in it.
First off, one was created positively, as you can see from the quality of the edit, while the other was created in retaliation of the other. Now you might say, why does that even matter? Well, here's a comparison. There's this teeny little organization, I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's called Black Lives Matter. And then there's All Lives Matter. People who say ALM opposed to BLM are supporting a movement that was made in retaliation of a movement made for the support and giving of voices to black people. A movement solely made for us to be treated as equal. Both still movements at their core, but one movement is in retaliation of the other.
It's not this insane take that you're making it out to be.
And then there's the video I chose to talk about. See, my video is also not as insane, crazy, cuckoo bananas as you're making it out to be. See, the second video you showed, yeah, the main focus on that one is how diversity isn't political.
See, the term virtue signaling is used by a lot of people when they just see progressive media and have a problem with it. That also goes for when they say that it's political. Having a diverse group of characters in your current media isn't political. It's a sign of respect to all the people who watch your shit. And it's just normal to include people who exist and have them represented because, you know, they exist. As in the same people who say that being gay shouldn't be a crazy outlandish thing and shouldn't be all out there. They make a big deal about it happening in the first place. When sometimes niggas are just gay. But of course it's always the same situation where the SJWs are the ones that are crying. Yeah, because they're the ones talking about the She-Ra nightmare and not you. Yeah, She-Ra's definitely woke garbage because they have different character designs. That's a whole nother video in itself if you want to watch it. Niggas are weird, man. I don't know.
Their existence should not have to be politicized as if it's some foreign-ass thing, but people make a big deal about it anyways. When I was typing this in the script, a possibility came up to me that people may think this point of mine is overly subjective or not based on too many facts. See, here's the thing though, you're wrong. See, funny thing, if you rewind back to the start of your video, Lobster, you got those images of the quartering and hero high, right? The quartering one in particular perfectly demonstrates the point of Veritas' video. This is the mindset that exists. Fuck, at the point of recording this, it's even more relevant, because you got places trying to pass shit like the Don't Say Gay bill, showing that yeah, diversity clearly is political to some people. So yeah, Veritas has a point. Also, we'll get back to this.
How could an intellectual titan such as yourself, with so many healthy and not at all insane takes, ever try to paint the people they disagree with in negative light by lying about them? Tut tut.
So, Bo, how many Uno reverse cards do you have stacked for this video?
Enough to make a replica of my house.
Okay, but why though?
As for the video in question, would you mind addressing any of my actual points? Playing them for the wider audience? So that they can form an informed opinion?
I could say that about the 2 videos you mentioned when it comes to lying, but go off, I guess.
I mean, he pretty much did. He mentioned that your video title called the creators soulless and spineless. I believe that's enough to give viewers an opinion. So tell me, what's your point? Wait a minute. Hold on, Bo, do lobsters have spines? I'm curious.
Let me search it up on the Avaphone. Let me see. Chrome. Actually load. Ah, here we go.
Oh, this is funny.
No? Now why would that be? Could it be perchance that you have never actually watched the video? But of course you didn't. If you had watched the video, you would have found out what the video is actually about. Not harassment, lamentation for the state of the industry and all the voices not being heard.
Way to blatantly assume he never watched the video with nothing but your other assumption that he's talking explicitly about you. Real smooth.
Lamination. The passionate expression of grief or sorrow. Weeping. Bitch, what? Like, yeah, it can be those things, but it can also be seen as highly toxic or demoralizing, at least to Joe. I have my own thoughts on your original video, and I'm gonna mention it in a bit, but for now, just know that I personally feel Joe was more kind to that video than he had any right to be.
I have never in my life harassed anyone. Not even in the sense as these overly brittle little babies define it in our modern era.
In our modern era? Alright, okay, boomer. Also, just as an aside, never harassed anyone. Remember that. Also, like, overly defensive? Cause God forbid people have feelings or an emotional limit. You all just have to suck it up and take it like a man, am I right? I very well hope not.
Meanwhile, you represent me dishonestly, outright lie about me and my content. You do not know anything about me, my views, my values, my ideals. Do your research next time, you disingenuous fuckwit.
Bro, it was one screenshot. A screenshot of a video that showcased part of the problem. Your video was shown when he was talking about critiquing the show in a non-constructive manner and being rude. Which, if you actually watched the video, you clearly were doing both. Though the rude part is kind of an understatement, but again, later, Joni has plans. He never claimed you specifically harassed anyone on Twitter. He never lied about you. He simply used you as an example for that specific part. This just comes off as you coping and seizing that he mentioned you in a negative way, and are now presenting him as if he's primarily talking about you, when you are just a side note. What was that about honesty?
And just so you know, you are not the arbiter of how people deliver their criticism, nor how much anyone is allowed to levy criticism to any given product.
When did he say that he was the arbiter of criticism? He just said that being rude and sending harassment wasn't fucking cool.
So many words put into the mouth, and yet there's clearly no consent. Disgusting.
That's no good.
I do my videos however I please, and on any topic I please. Me doing a series of videos on my channel where anyone can either choose to click or not click on them cannot be construed as targeted harassment in any way.
Excuse me, was that a don't like, don't watch argument? Huh. For someone so adamant about critique, I think you'd know not to use one of the most disliked arguments in terms of criticism, especially when it's used like this. And while yes, you can do your content on anything you want, that doesn't mean your videos are not worthy of criticism. Then there's your claim that your video can't be considered harassment.
This is debatable. See, here's the thing about this. It can't be considered as targeted harassment in any way. See, here's the thing. When something has been beaten into the ground so hard where it's pretty much a joke, it's mostly just derogatory, insulting, insert something else with negative connotations here, it can very well be seen as harassment. People are allowed to get offended. I also want to bring up the video in question here, because if you consider the fact that part 9 of your series being called The Creator of High Guardian Spice is spineless and soulless has the creator listed in the name, it's a negative video about something that's received negative attention, and the title of your video, the only thing Various shows is directing all the hate at one particular individual. That can very well be seen as targeted harassment. It's the equivalent of if I made a video saying my collab partner is a talentless hack who can't get past the Mogas to save his life.
Oh, you little!
And it's already got 5k views. Nice!
Besides, anyone who has actually seen one of my videos can tell that my approach to critiquing is equal parts comedic roasting and intellectual musing in nature.
Wait for it. Just keep waiting. He's literally edging his own downfall.
But I want to say it so badly. I can't keep holding all these cards.
But of course, you aren't interested in the truth. And the comments aren't any better. Dumbasses crying about nothing, echoing this ridiculous trite. Oh, and would you look at that, you got some pretty big names vouching for your dishonesty.
I'm not gonna lie. I disagree with a lot of stuff you say, so I clicked on this, waiting for you to mischaracterize me and everyone else. But you know what? I was wrong. There was a lot of nuance here. Good video.
We get it. You're coping coconut seasoning and coconut molding over a fucking screenshot. You've made that point God knows how many times in the last 4 minutes.
Coconut modding? Really?
Look, I heard it a while back and I thought it was funny.
Learn the meaning of words before you use them. But then again...
It's not like they're using the words wrong. You only showed a small portion of the video and don't show the rest. Virtus's video actually has a lot more depth than you might think, most of which Lobster doesn't show in his actual response. And when it comes to your pot shots at Unique's video, 51 minutes isn't exhaustive? It's pretty long for YouTube standards and goes over quite a bit. Sure, it only goes over the first few episodes, but that's still quite a bit to go over in that time. There's also the fact that he only had enough time to cover the first 3 videos thanks to an Indiegogo known as the Animation Dormitory Project. At the end, he even made a deal that if the project was fully funded, he would cover the rest of the series.
It is also unfortunately all I have time for. If I try to do the full video now, the Animated Dormitory Project will fucking end before I get the video out. But hey, since we're here, let's make a little game of this. You want me to finish this whole series with these kind of videos? Blow this charity up. For every $500 donated to this charity, I'll do another episode of High Guardian Spice, with the exception of the last episode, which I'll only do if the charity is fully funded. So, renew your vows to the Pirates of the West, show the world piracy is a service problem, not a money problem, pirate your anime, and support your animators, you scallyweebs.
A promise he kept his word on, as shown 17 days after your video, where he released a 2-hour video covering the rest of the show. What was that about him not knowing the definition of exhaustive just because the video isn't as long as yours? Doesn't mean it isn't exhaustive.
This is a dick measuring contest, but nothing here is suckable. This is a ripoff.
Thank you for making this. YouTube keeps suggesting these awful High Guardian Spice mock title videos to me, and it's exhausting to see in my sidebar. I can't imagine how awful the creator feels.
Oh no, woe is me. I get recommended videos with opinions I don't agree with. Feel sorry for me and the creators of this shitty cartoon.
Yeah, but people aren't allowed to feel sympathy for people? Bite me. Actually, no, never mind. You can't. But seriously, it's not even like Jello is asking for sympathy points. It's literally just, ugh, it's annoying to have these videos recommended. Nothing more, nothing less. God! And like, okay, to get personal for a second here, hi there, I'm a response video maker usually. Used to make commentaries regularly, most of them not very good, and as such I became a bandwagon, sometimes for deserved reasons, but other times it just felt tiring, and I felt the way for other creators. Becoming a bandwagon is demotivating for a lot of people, and trying to just deal with it often isn't enough. Look, I'm not trying to directly compare myself to other creators of High Guardian Spice, because this is 2 completely different tiers, but like I said earlier, God forbid human beings carry a little thing we call sympathy, right? Matt, go back to the dick measuring contest. That was at least pathetically enjoyable.
And with that, all that's left is him saying that he's being slandered, again, and saying the most ironic thing in the video.
Your average YouTuber is an idiot. Yeah, that sounds about right.
So, with the video over, you may think we're done, right? Well, psych! See, well, no, mostly me. Bolt was in the corner crying about Amogas the entire time.
Get trapped in a phone for what feels like days and tell me how you feel.
How about no? But I came up with the plan of binging through Lobster's list of videos, or half of them. This is the part where you all wince in sympathy for me because I need it. But I went through them and decided to gather a few clips. Clips that specifically go against claims he made in the video. So gather around, this show's not done yet, and you get no refunds.
The entire show is just a vanity project for progressive ideologues and Tumblr dwellers. Storytelling doesn't matter to them. All they care about is having diverse characters, which is just code for shitty self-inserts, unattractive females, and castrated males.
So, how about we tear each of these bits apart one at a time? That sound good?
Certainly.
shitty self-inserts. That matters literally why now. See, here's the thing, it literally hurts nothing. One of the characters is a self-insert from one of the people behind it. So what? And let's be honest now, and this is something complained about in the series because he bitches about representation constantly, so I'm not just making this up. If the character and creator weren't trans, I doubt you would give a single iota of a care. Again, note to viewers, this isn't me making a straw man, just watch through the rest. This is gonna be painfully relevant.
Also, aside from one example, what others are there? You've shown you can put multiple screenshots on the screen at once, so why not show more? But then there's also unattractive women. This matters how? Like, first of all, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. What you may find unattractive, others may find the most beautiful thing to ever grace this earth. Like, sure, they may not be conventionally attractive, but that really shouldn't matter at the end of the day. And this one specifically serves no point but to further imply they are only doing this for an agenda, or whatever bullshit you're spouting out.
He's got that incel energy for real, for real. Also, that last one. So, holy shit. So as a trans person in this collab of ours, cause like, God, for one thing, the whole idea that trans people get their genitals castrated, or just that mindset in general, is an overly transphobic one that's been pushed as hard by comedians, making the same old helicopter attack jokes for over decades. Also, wow, this is dishonest. See, I'm not even familiar with High Guardian Spice, but this character arc in particular is something that I am pretty well knowledged in. Because in the context of the show, no, the biggest stepping stone for Snapdragon's character arc in terms of changing identity was to ask their friend with help changing physical appearance, and that's just with nails, nothing really more than that. It's also just a gross claim to make, because fun fact, not every trans person, whether it be trans mask or trans femme, even want to have surgery to change those aspects of themselves in the first place. Like, fuck, bottom surgery is completely optional. This doesn't even work in that stupid idea of castration, because by the lore, you yourself know transition magic exists in this universe. So framing it as this awful painful thing is literally just being intellectually dishonest. It may as well just be a simple poof, it's gone. What were you saying earlier, you Sebastian wannabe?
This story is a prime example of art done by people with zero talent. Anyone with even a shred of aptitude for storytelling would have never allowed something this half-baked to escape their brains and onto the page. The problems in the narrative are so fundamental and devastating that I'm comfortable calling the entire writing staff a bunch of retards in the fullest sense of the word.
Hey, so Bolt, what was it that Lobster stated earlier in his video? I'm gonna need a refresher here.
Something about not harassing people? Must have got lost between the coping over being slandered.
Right. So, hey, would you consider calling somebody a slur as harassment? I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
As an autistic person myself, that checks out.
Thought so. So, how does it feel knowing we've got more statements to go? I really missed the dick measuring.
After all, the attention of the masses and the studios is aimed consistently on the types of creators who have nothing to say, talentless hacks, who have only been given money and a chance to create by the virtue of them ticking a fucking diversity box. Courtesy of either a Scalpel or the Skittles company. Yes, shots fired. The fuck are you gonna do about it?
Yeah, shots fired at your fucking credibility. Like, Jesus, no wonder you didn't link this in the description. Showing this would have put your whole not harassing anybody claim in hot lava. Then again, you should probably let the lava take care of that honesty you preached about so much in this video.
Nothing wrong with Skittles anyway. I mean, they're inferior to Gummy Bears and Sour Patch Kids and Twizzlers in like every single way, but they're okay.
And I know that among those stories that will never get published, there is that one story that I would consider brilliant. Maybe even one of my new favorites. I will never get to experience that story, and it's all thanks to these whiny, self-absorbed pieces of shit who refuse to learn, refuse to grow, refuse to take responsibility for their own fuck-ups, and still dare call themselves creators. These kinds of people are the ones taking away valuable space and opportunities from all the artists with actual talent. Fuck every last one responsible for this cultural devastation. Not just these fucks, but everyone who made it so that we ended up here.
A cultural devastation. Right, so a mediocre show at worst is responsible for cultural devastation here? Talk about a soapbox.
A cultural devastation that had been preached about by dips like you for God knows how long before the show was even a thought, but go on.
Yeah, no, but that's a point. You're blaming the people who helped the show get to this point, but that doesn't even make much sense, because most people wanted the show to bomb from the start. Who's to blame here? The people who are just doing their job? They have the right to call themselves creators, because yeah, they did make a creation. Some people like it, some people don't, and everybody has the right to feel said way. I mean, unless their reasoning is just stemmed by bigotry. But details, Star Wars, what even is talent anyways? It's such a subjective term, because what people consider talented will range from person to person. It's such a weird thing to determine what makes somebody talented. It's similar to the idea of what makes somebody a true fan of something, so this doesn't even work as an objective statement. You've broken your own argument, and now you're breaking your own soapbox. Good job.
I think this more than shows why Joe bothered putting your video here at all. Because while yes, what you mentioned the video is about is technically not wrong, the content in it paints a different picture that makes me feel genuinely uncomfortable. The lack of any benefit of doubt past the animation, the constant, almost borderline harassment, the destructive criticism, it all combines to make something that makes me feel genuinely turned off from your content, and makes your video on Joe a whole lot worse. The fact that Joe merely mentioned this video as a side note is an act of mercy on his part, whether intentional or not. And the fact that even after this video we're covering, you still continue to make remarks, even implying the creators are fucking groomers!
It is not the job of a random member of the education staff to discuss matters of sex, sexuality, or anything having to do with genitals with their underage students. Every person who advocates for this kind of behavior is a groomer, either sexual or ideological variety, bonus points if both. Caraway is a self-centered deviant crossing the boundaries of common decency in leaps and bounds. And the same goes for the creators as well.
Yeah, you really don't do much to help your case. But now to loop this back to your video on Joe. This all combines to make this one of the worst videos I've ever seen. This video preaches about honesty and mischaracterization and slander, when that's basically all this video is. You shove words into Joe's mouth for daring to show a screenshot of your video. You make so many blanket assumptions it hurts. And adding the context of the rest of your series to this, including the video Joe mentioned, this genuinely makes you look bad. That said, I still want to give you advice, and that advice is, don't be a fucking dick. Bot shots are fine. Mild insults are fine. But when they turn into borderline harassment, that's a problem. This video got us pretty heated, but I hope you take what we say to heart. And if you don't, well, you do you, I guess.
Never mind what I said earlier about wanting the dick measuring contest to return. You're clearly the biggest dick around, and it's not even sexy. Honestly, like, when I return to making response videos, commentaries, whatever, I decided to basically give myself a creed as to what I cover. One of the rules was that I'd only cover videos that had mindsets or claims that I believed to be outright harmful. Now granted, the video we focused on primarily, the response, just overall bad, dishonest, strawmans as far as the eye can see. But the context behind it is what made me really want to cover it, because yeah, you were just being a dishonest ass about all of this. I'll be upfront, Veritas was right. He may not have covered you in detail, but his general point of you contributing to the harassment, with all the other stuff we just covered, that's dead on. I am also aware of your disclaimer, and for somebody who believes in critique and that being harsh is fair, I think it's telling that your description says that if anybody brings up a particular problem with your video, you're just going to call them a slur and call it a day. Seriously, wise up, you're gonna need it. Now, on to the second video.
But before that, I want to change to something a bit more fitting.
Ah yes, the move of changing avatars mid-commentary for no reason. I see the technique I pioneered is still going strong.
doodle tones to fossilizercom suddenly not exist?
At least I have a consistent set.
I'm sorry, don't you have your own version of an old gone companion of mine from years ago?
The heck is she talking about?
Don't worry about it, Frig. I barely know either.
Anyways, this bootleg Neo's gone. I'm gonna explain the context. To make a long story short, we're covering a countdown for this next video. Josh Scorcher's top 2021 fails, relating to gaming to be precise. But it's not just any video on a countdown, you see, because we are only covering one section. Rather underwhelming it may seem, but trust me, things will get interesting. Specifically, we're gonna be covering number 4. And those who have seen the list will know exactly what it's about.
Books. Book. 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 Book.
In spite of everything you've done for them, eventually they will hate you.
Cancel culture, a saying of infamy that's become both laughable and frightening in society today. Yes, there are those who deserve to be called out and punished for any wrongdoings they've done, and for the safety of those around them should never find work again. But then there's the unfortunate lot who get dogged on without giving their side of the story, even if they never meant or did any real harm. Why do I bring this up? Well,
we don't really have much to say about this. However, I feel this is important context for what comes next, especially the affecting those who didn't harm anyone point.
Yeah, cause this may seem minor at first, but trust us, this is going to stab the entire foundation for this entry in the back hard.
Now that I got your attention, Scott Cawthon, creator of the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, announced in June 2021 that he would be retiring from the franchise and turning the reins over to a worthy successor. Half the reason is so that he can better take care of his kids. Aw, that's actually a pretty sweet reason. Until you see the other reason for his retirement. Yep, you guessed it, Scott Cawthon got canceled. Actually, he got worse than canceled. He was harassed, sent death and violence threats, and was doxxed. But why? I mean, just look at all the good he's done. He donated hundreds of thousands to charities, one of them being for a children's hospital. He created one of the most beloved horror game franchises and took any feedback and criticism gracefully. He took FNAF World off the market to finish it and then re-released it for free with updates. He indirectly gave MatPat a ton of money and actually sponsored and supported the fan games of his own series. So why did people feel this man was horrible enough to chase him off the internet?
He donated to Republican candidates.
And then...
That's it.
That's literally all he did. Nothing illegal. He just donated to Republican candidates and some Democrat ones too, but shh. And this is worth getting upset about.
So we left a lot of the original video there, but that was for a reason. Primarily, we had to wait until Josh stated the reason for Scott's cancellation before we could go into further detail. With that being said though, wow, this is flawed beyond belief.
I think boiling it down to that is just a massive oversimplification. First of all, I like that you don't mention the specific candidates he voted for, specifically Mitch McConnell, Tulsi Gabbard, and Donald Trump. All of them being very controversial politicians, especially in the LGBTQ community. Specifically Trump, the previous president of the United States, who'd obviously be a name of note. It also doesn't help that the Republican Party has a large track record of harming the rights of minorities, especially LGBTQ folk. Granted, there is definitely the possibility of Scott voting for them for other reasons, however, I don't think that changes much, especially with the way he responded to the controversy.
Multiple people in the Five Nights at Freddy's community took issue with this. Because surprise, surprise, in a fandom as large as the FNAF fanbase, there's bound to be queer members. Cause fun fact, we're everywhere. People took issue with this as they have a right to. If somebody is caught endorsing people who actively make your life harder, man, no, screw that. People have the right to get upset. Here's why I had mentioned earlier to keep in mind the whole entire affecting those who didn't harm anyone aspect. Let me bring up one of the candidates Bolt brought up in particular. So, Tulsi Gabbard, he had previously already apologized for having anti-LGBT views in the past, and regardless of if anybody has changed or not, that can still be a red flag. And yet, 2 years later, introduced a bill to the US House of Representatives that would dictate that female student athletes be based on gender assigned to a person at birth. Said bill would deny federal funding to schools that, and I quote, would permit a person whose biological sex at birth is male to participate in an athletic program or activity that is designed for women or girls. So yes, I would say that this is worth getting upset about. Oh, and let's go over those good things he's done in order, shall we?
He donated hundreds of thousands to charities, one of them being for a children's hospital.
This is definitely a good thing. However, that doesn't balance it out. Yes, he's done good, but he still chose to donate to those people who could hurt a large portion of his fan base, and that portion of his fan base have all the right in the world to be angry at him for that.
Agreed. If one person does a good thing, but does something else that hurts a variety of people, then no, it does not cancel the other out.
He created one of the most beloved horror game franchises and took any feedback and criticism gracefully.
Counterpoint, John Lasseter helped pioneer the success of Pixar, an amazing group of movie makers. He was involved in sexual harassment.
Koichi Sugiyama was the composer for the Dragon Quest games, a soundtrack beloved by many people.
He's a homophobic nationalist who denies several Japanese war crimes.
These comparisons may seem a bit extreme, but I think my point makes sense here. Like, oh yay, he made a game series a bunch of people enjoyed. What is a bigger impact? Denying the rights of gay and trans youth? Something that over the globe has led to various instances of harm, suicide, and just tons of awful stuff overall? Haha, fun jump scares. One of these things, obviously, should be the bigger priority.
He took FNAF World off the market to finish it and then re-released it for free with updates.
Basically the same point as the last one, and the same can be applied to the fan game point later. Square Enix made Final Fantasy XIV from scratch after the original bomb, and made it one of the best MMOs of this current generation. Doesn't mean we can't get angry at them for their NFT shit.
He indirectly gave MatPat a ton of money.
He indirectly gave MatPat a lot of, oh my head. Oh god, my head. Are we seriously using this as a positive? One singular YouTube channel where the biggest impact is just solving, or not solving, series, and we're really gonna just use one singular dude making money as a defense. I refuse to believe this is a real point. Actually, wait. Hey Bolt, maybe it's just a theory.
Okay!
I mean, he himself is a Republican. It's kinda within his right to do so. It's not like he was hurting anyone. He was just trying to live his life and support his party.
Excuse me while I go bang my head on a wall.
Like, yeah, you're technically right. It is in his right. That doesn't mean everyone is gonna agree or even think it was a good decision. Like I said before, the US Republican Party is probably one of the most controversial things in the world, if I'm being honest, and they have done a lot to hurt many people who happen to be in the FNAF community, which is made worse given the fact that he could potentially be using the money they gave him for said purposes. Now, I will say, no, we do not support the death threats or doxing in any way. However, expecting there to be no controversy when this was revealed is a full thought process. And it also isn't helped by the fact that you show like no evidence that he was doxed or sent death threats. And while yes, it did happen, most people were just upset and disappointed that the person who they gave their money to was supporting people who would hurt them in the end.
Oh, and he's conservative. Okay, and? It's not like it was a hidden fact that he made Christian-themed games or anything.
And it's not like it's a hidden fact that quite a number of conservatives are guilty of a lot of incredibly racist, homophobic, transphobic, etc. actions, right? Like, I think that gives minority groups a valid reason to be concerned. We've totally been here before, gosh. Ugh. You're phrasing this like it's no big deal, but given how you're a cis white dude who's also conservative, there's a clear bias here. I'm not saying this as some kind of potshot either in order to clear up confusion. I bring this up because with that privilege, it means that you yourself wouldn't be affected by the actions of those who Scott chose to support. So you literally have no right to try and get on how other people reacted here.
Also, what if they never really paid mind to those games given how old they were? That's also a possibility. There's also the fact that, believe it or not, there are progressive Christians. Not all Christians are ultra-conservative. Sure, most of them are, but Scott didn't really give them any reason to believe he was. Keep in mind how young some of the FNAF fandom is. His most well-known game before FNAF 1 wasn't even directly Christian-based. So yeah, there are very good reasons why people wouldn't focus on him being conservative before the controversy.
But I mean, of course, why wouldn't they want to single an average guy out just because of his beliefs? After all,
everything is political, Sean.
Most people weren't even advocating for Scott to retire. For the most part, they just wanted transparency, a thing Scott was heavily lacking in his responses, instead calling to cancel culture itself. A move that also felt strangely out of character for him, but circumstances can change how people respond, and I don't think that changes how much you oversimplify the situation.
If there was a hell, Gage Carter will burn for eternity.
I'm happy to report that Scott stuck to his guns and didn't apologize, and I genuinely hope that retirement is good for him, because, yeah, I think he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't single out any communities or maliciously attack anyone. He just showed his support to people he believed in. Isn't that the point of a political party?
Yes, because let's ignore the fact that the people Scott believes in all have terrible and harmful policies, as presented with evidence we've shown throughout the entire video. Nope, he's just a proud American doing his duty to vote. Fuck off.
But he gave MatPat money. That makes things better.
I can frankly care less about the YouTuber who said the Black Nose Joy was a shiny Pokemon variant.
Excuse me, he did what?
Well, I guess not, since trying to live your life is enough to put it in danger. Is he wrong about his political beliefs? Debatable, but can you honestly take a look at everything this man has done and believe he has malicious intent of any kind?
Yes, cause why care about supporting people who actively hurt minority groups when you can give MatPat Senpai money?
No, really, look at everything this man has done and tell me with a straight face that he deserved to have his life and family threatened. At the very worst, his beliefs are merely incorrect. And even then, no matter where you are in the political spectrum, Democrat, Republican, or any third party, no one deserves to have their family and friends threatened over simply being wrong. Period. Full stop. If you had to put a but after that, think about how you're literally trying to justify harassment and coercion into compliance.
I don't like how this is worded because, yeah, the doxers, the people who sent death threats, they are bad. But that wasn't even the majority of people. Like we've said many times, most people were just upset or disappointed. The wording here genuinely feels like you're generalizing everyone who had a problem with him with the people who actually did harm to him. I'm going to touch more on this in my final thoughts, but this is something I really dislike about this segment.
And incorrect beliefs are capable of hurting people, whether you're Democratic, Republican, whatever. If your beliefs actively go against the rights of a specific group of people, especially minority groups, that's something to criticize. Also, hold up, misguided activists. Nah, especially after a certain other video I'll be bringing up soon. Screw this, your logic is awful at best and harmful at worst.
Okay. Post point, because while Bolt covered the generalization, wow, I'm surprised this wasn't initially caught. Not only does he frame the people criticizing Scott as bullying him, which in and of itself is well poisoning, given how he talks about how misguided activists were the main people behind Scott's cancellation, he's also pinning the doxing of him on said activists, when he has shown no proof that said activists were behind it. This is low-key very disgusting. How the fuck did you get away with this?
And hey, Bolt, fun fact, this segment is done, but we aren't.
Excuse me?
First, just answer my question. Do you want to be taken to a place full of wonder and imagination?
I've already been to Disney World.
Okay, but which ward?
The one in Florida.
Can't judge you there, same. But, just take my hand and we will be whisked to our destination. Temporarily, of course, otherwise this bounty will have been for nothing.
Okay, what is this magical place?
Welcome, Bolt, to Tumblr!
Oh god, of all the places to go, I didn't expect a ball pit to be our next destination.
See, this requires some context again. When I first viewed this video, I had gotten curious. If you're familiar with my own channel, this isn't the first time I've covered our fiery Joker here. And not the first time over something political, either. I had covered a review that, quite frankly, was awful. Especially upon talking about manners of racism and activists. Some of the evidence I had gotten for my final part in that video happened to come from Tumblr. As such, when this list released, I decided to go to Tumblr to see if there was anything juicy connected to the Scott Cawthorn situation. And yeah, there was.
Okay, guess I'll get Frank to read it.
Wait, am I really reading this?
Don't really have a choice, especially with Emolga fucking off to God knows where, so have fun.
Just to make sure your friend here doesn't call me Neo from Ruby or whatever the hell she meant.
You're more familiar with Rage Mode anyways.
I'm not even a form of it. Fine, I'll start reading. Changing my voice adjustments, and...
I recently watched your top fails of 2021 video, and I feel the need to say something about the whole Cawthorn thing. Harassment, death threats, and doxing are absolutely unacceptable, so putting that on the list is entirely reasonable. However, I take issue with the idea that people should not judge others for their political beliefs. If you can't judge someone for the way they think the world should be run, what can you judge them for? I look at all the actions that Scott has taken, how many people he has helped and inspired, and I genuinely believe he was never trying to hurt anyone. If you look at his response, it seems that rhetoric is a much less important factor than actions to Scott. He said he avoided donating to politicians who talk a big game about supporting LGBT, but whose policies he believes would actually do more harm to LGBT. To wit, Scott believes that the LGBT community is going to be hurt more by incompetent and or disingenuous activists rather than the active hateful opponents. That's a hard argument to make when knowing the actual candidates he backed, given that Tulsi, as mentioned previously, quite literally made an anti-trans bill relating to sports. Mitch McConnell has openly supported people who are very anti-LGBT. And do I even need to mention the trans military ban that was done by the President of the United States at the time? Even going by that last part, Scott clearly isn't supporting people who would even subtly want to help the community. Is Scott correct? Maybe, maybe not. And that debate can certainly be had. However, in the end, Scott had made a judgment call based on the information he had, and it was a decision made because Scott didn't want to harm the LGBT community.
So first off, and this is kind of minor, but okay, so it's fine for you to mention that Scott actively was going against the LGBT here on Tumblr, but mentioning the details of what happened on YouTube isn't? Why? Because on YouTube the context is lost, and people won't understand the ramifications of just what Scott did. Also, is Scott correct? Maybe, maybe not. Saying that is a problem in itself, because like, what's Scott's belief here? That supporting people that makes things bad for the LGBT community is okay? That's not a maybe not situation. Morally speaking, that's screwed. There's only one answer that's actually okay here. There shouldn't be a debate, period. Even if Scott didn't do so intentionally, he still did. And like I've said so many times already, that deserves to be criticized.
I often see many people who make questionable or harmful decisions, but in the end are just trying to do what they believe is right. I don't agree with many of the people who voted for Biden to be president, but I do understand many of the reasons why they did. I think they're wrong, especially when you look at the many negative effects of his presidency that many opponents of his warned about. People voted for Biden because they thought he was the best foot forward for the country. And many are coming to the notion that they made a mistake. And no, I highly discourage unhelpful actions of nearing or I told you soing these people like they're children. In the end, I try to believe people who disagree with me are misguided, not evil. Here's the thing, I agree with the very last part. Heck, I'm sure many of the people who are against Scott also agree. However, that doesn't mean those actions shouldn't be judged, especially if they hurt a lot of people. Heck, one of the first steps in helping misguided people change for the better is telling them why what they did or believe is wrong. And in this case, even as you explained it, Scott only doubled down on his beliefs before retiring.
Honestly, there's more, but here's the thing. None of it is worth covering, reason being that it just completely dodges around the issue at hand. In the context of the video, and part of the question the user originally asked, it dodges around the actual beliefs Scott has and the harm they have, choosing to get on a soapbox about how we shouldn't just judge others, or people made a mistake choosing Biden and are beginning to realize it. It's all complete and utter fluff. I couldn't trust you to talk about these subject matters as far as I could throw you, and we're done. Good lord, this was too long.
Thank God! I don't have to read more of this. Tell me when we get back to the doc's lab. I'm taking a rest.
Okay, Frigg. Now, my final thoughts. My biggest problem with the entry itself is that it massively oversimplifies everything. Yes, I think the doxing and death threats are wrong. There is no excuse for them, and I hope the people who sent them were properly scrutinized. However, I feel the mistake you made was overgeneralization and simplification. I feel like you put everyone who was upset at Scott on the same level of the people who sent death threats, and completely ignored any possible fault Scott could have made in the situation. You are very much the biased party, and not the kind of person who should be talking about this without help, because this situation is more complex and nuanced than you think, because even if Scott isn't a horrible person, I personally don't think he is on the same level as someone like, say, Butch Hartman. However, that doesn't mean he's innocent. I think if I were to give you advice, try to look at this situation from all sides, because while yes, you may not agree with all of them, understanding them is vital to having an informed opinion on something like politics. And that's all I really have to say. Now, take the floor, Rue.
Sorry. I'm out. I'm just gonna say it's a bad look when the first video I covered was you talking about how racism is bad, is annoying to hear, and then we have this. I think that says enough. So, $70, right? Are you sure this was worth it? Your companion here looks like he's about to keel over.
More like a 35-35 split between the both of us, but yeah, hopefully it'll be worth it. Let's just get these beasts to our client. Also, you gonna be okay, Frigg?
I'll be fine. I'm an AI. Just need to rest in the phone for a bit. Though still, fuck you for making me read that.
You're welcome, buddy. Now let's just get there. I have the location locked in my map.
How do you do, fellow gamers?
Ayo, I got the material you need. Though I had a little help, so I was planning to split the money between us.
I think I can do that, but we need one more thing before I pay you.
Huh?
Excuse me?
As this is obviously a setup to an intro skit, we must do a try-up on these videos.
There's more.
Ah!